Hi, and welcome to the Coincraft Quickstart tutorial. This is designed to quickly get you started with Coincraft, so it won't go through every detail, but we'll have more detailed video tutorials coming in the future. So you've just created a new Coincraft account, and what do you do to get started? Well, you'll notice a suggestion that we need to create a project here. You can also do that via the projects menu or the project list, and you can click create project. So we've got a form here, we've got our project level information above, so we can call this Sydney Opera House, and our phases below, so we can add concept design in here. You can add as many phases as you want. Save that, and that's all you need to do to really set up a project. So staff can now enter timesheets against this project, like so. Let's put in 8 hours here. We can also add in a note. Timesheets automatically save up the top here. Once that's done, we'll get back to the project in a second, but we might take a detour to set up our staff. You'll see yourself here when you enter the staff list. You can click on a row and modify your details. So we have our pay rate here, overtime rate if you do like time and a half or something like that, cost rate, which is your pay rate plus a portion of your overhead expenses for the office. So we might go ahead and make that $80 an hour, and the charge out rate, which is what you charge your client per hour. Below that we have weekly availability. This is so we know how much time each staff member can work per week. So we're just going to put in 40 hours here. Save that. That's staff member 1 created. Let's create staff member 2. Let's call her Zaha Hadid. You don't have to provide a staff member with a login here. You can check this off and still resource time against them. They just won't be able to enter timesheets. So we can give them an email. Scroll down. Employee contractor just affects the expense of the staff member in the forecast. We can give her some pay rates here. Like so. Save that. If for any reason save that. Once that's saved, a invite will be sent to Zaha's email. If for whatever reason a staff member didn't receive that invite, just check your spam folder. You can always click this resend invite button and make sure the email is correct. Coincraft does bill per staff member, which you can check out here in the billing section. If you pay for a year, you'll get a 15% discount. Monthly is the full fee. And you can see the breakdown of the cost per staff member down below. Let's go back to our projects, open up Sydney Opera House, and we've noticed a couple of extra fields here. So let's set up the durations of our projects. We've got our start date, our end date, and a duration. So we can just pick the start of the month here. We can pick an end date. We can set this to months if we want to, so we can see that the start of the month to the end of the month is 1 month. We can go ahead and change that to 3. You can type in dates here, like so. You can just copy and paste values if you want to, and just quickly set up projects this way. So I like to just copy the end dates over and then set up the duration of the project. If you scroll up the top here, you'll be able to see the project has totaled the dates down below. Same happens with the fee field, the expense budget, and the hours budget for the project. So if we type in $10,000 here, you'll notice that the project starts adding up the values like so, and we can just use that value for each of the fields for the project. A project can also have an expense budget, which is how much you want to spend on the project. You can do a little bit of maths here if you want to, so you can enter in the project fee and times it by 0.8 if you want a 20% profit margin. And you can type in hours like so. You can also resource staff to your project. So we can click this add resource button here and add both of our staff to the project, and we can just link them up to the phase budgets by clicking these link icons. Now when we change these values, the ratios of the staff will stay the same, so you can see no matter what value we change the expense budget to, you can use this to set up a ratio. So we can say Zaha will always work half as much as Ryan, so we can set up 1 and 2 here and say we want the $8,000 like before, and you can see that it's kept that ratio. So when we save that, the system will ask if you want to update your resource schedule and revenue forecast. Give it a save, go into the forecast section, and you can see it's starting to project our revenue and our expenses for the project. So when revenue is greater than expenses, it'll be a nice golden color. If this black line goes above the gold line, it'll be shaded in red to show you that you're losing money in that month. So scroll down, we can see the revenue for each of the stages. We can see our staff expenses by expanding these like so. These are the staff we would just resource to the project. You can click on any one of these values and edit them, so we can make this $3,000. This is going to go red because we're projecting more than what was in the agreed fee, and you can do a similar thing with staff, and it's got its staff budgets down on the side here. So we do click on a staff cell, we can see the cost of that staff member's time in the boxes here on the right, the use of the cost budget for the project, as well as how many hours it is and how much utilization of that staff member we are using for the project. So we can say Ryan should be 20% utilized on this project. And it's changed the costs above as well as the hours in the spreadsheet here. We can save that, and that'll go into our... Now that we've set up one project, we can also duplicate that for future projects. So we can hit this copy button here. We can call this one Run Shomp, give it a job code, and you can also change the start date. So we might want this one to start 3 months into the future. Save that. And here we are with the new project named Run Chomp with the new project code and the exact same phases and setup we had in the previous project. Go on the forecast, same forecast, but it is 3 months in the future. You can navigate the forecast using these arrow keys, and you can see the expenses don't change too much over time, and that's because we haven't set up the staff expenses for the other phases of the project. These values are totaled in the revenue forecast. This is our staff expenses for the business, and this is the revenue from our projects. We can scroll down here and we can change these values like in the project forecast. So if we make 2 of these, say like 20,000. Scroll up and we can see it's red where the revenue is less than our expenses, and it is gold where the revenue is greater than our expenses. As I said, this only has staff expenses at the moment. If you want to add office expenses, you can do so under organization overhead expenses. Let's save that. Same thing with the resource schedule. It's going to collate all the projects for the staff in your company. It's going to collate all the projects for the staff in your organization. We have our available hours at the top here and our allocated hours down the bottom in gray. We can get a breakdown of what Ryan's working on, and you can see his hours for Sydney Opera House and Run Chomp. We can increase these hours. Let's make it 180 hours in Sydney Opera House. And you can see that he has gone red because he is overutilized. We got the utilization here in brackets. If we change that to say 140, it'll be a sort of golden color because that's a good utilization. So the cells here will shade from a sort of creamy color to a red color based off how utilized each staff member is. Again, as with the revenue forecast, if the allocated hours goes above the available hours, it'll be shaded in a red color. You can also customize how this looks. So we've got our filters here. We can change the groups so it can be grouped by project and phase rather than individual staff members, so we can see the hours of each stage of each project. You can filter out particular projects and particular staff. And you can save these reports for use in the future using the save button. You can hide that. Almost every page in Coincraft has similar reports. So in the revenue forecast, same filters here. We can save that for future use. The project list, we can start to see progress against our budgets for our projects. Sometimes this data won't load in if other people have been entering timesheets, so you can just refresh the page and it'll load in fresh data. But we can edit these reports, select some columns to display. There's a lot to choose from, but you can just use this filter up the top here to find what you need. Cancel that. You can filter out projects by status or anything you want, and again you can save that for later. Probably the report you'll use most is the timesheet reports. Again, you can group it by whatever you choose, so you can group it by project, phase, staff member, month, so we can see what projects were worked on this month, like so. Refresh the table and we've got April, Sydney Opera House. You can select more columns like in the project list, save it for later. You can select a time range, so you can say give me a report from the last week, and you can use that to report against staff time and pay them if you pay them an hourly rate. So let's hide that. I think the last thing we need to go through is invoices. So let's go to the invoice list. We'll create a new invoice for Sydney Opera House. You need to enter an invoice number for your project. You can pick a particular client, scroll down. So by default, each stage is populated with a percentage progress line item. So we can say we want to bill for 20% of concept design. The system will figure out what the fee is for that. You can add different line item types. So we can add a fixed amount where you can say, I don't really care what progress we made, but we really need $2,000 right now, and the system will figure out the progress for you. This will also be remembered for the next invoice, so it'll bill from 40% to say 60% if you want to bill another 20% progress. Another thing you can do is you can add timesheet items, so we can see the 8 hours here from Ryan. Add that like so, and we can see the notes from the timesheets. So this is handy if you do hourly rate jobs. Notice we've got some progress here, so if this is variation work, we can change this, and that fee won't be tracked against the agreed fee. So that's the basics of invoices. Just note that we don't produce the invoice ourselves. We rely on your accounting system for that. So if you want to sync the invoice over to Xero, QuickBooks, or MYOB, you can just use this sync button here, and you can follow the instructions like so. So that's a rough overview of Coincraft. Hopefully that's enough to get you started, and we should have some more detailed tutorials coming soon.